Hello everybody. Some of you might know me, some of you won't, but I'm Sue Parsons, and I'm really excited because it's the Tesco Community Cookery School. This is my first one, so please bear with me. I'm not Nigella, but I love cooking and I love passing on knowledge. So what we're going to do today is a really nice veggie chilli with brown rice. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I've got a pan of water on the stove beginning to boil up. I'll just turn it up so that will be ready. That's the first thing that you need to do, and we're doing brown rice today because it's more nutritious than white rice, but it also takes a little bit longer to cook. So you could use, I'm using brown rice as I say, you could use white rice, or sometimes to get even more vegetables in, I sometimes use cauliflower rice, which you can get in the freezers. Or you can make it yourself by simply grating cauliflower, but that didn't work very well for me, so I buy it from the freezer. So what I'm going to do first then, having got the pan of water on to boil, I'm going to chop an onion. And I learnt a really good tip the other week. If you hold it like a bridge, makes it really easy. I'm just going to use half an onion today. So I'll put that one on one side, collect up my bits, and what you need to do is hold your knife firmly, just cut the end. Always when you're chopping, if you can, have the flat side down. So if it's something that's round or not even, then just take a very thin slice off it because it just makes it easier to cut. And I've been chopping onions for years, absolutely years, and always end up in a real mess with them because they all fall to pieces. And that's this really good tip that I came across through the Tesco Cookery School, is if you leave the root, don't cut that off until the very last minute. And then to chop an onion, finally, I've learnt, is, you know how they have lines down them? If you slice along those lines, making sure your fingers aren't in the way, close but not all the way through to the root. And then just go across again, and they stay together so much better, makes it much easier. So that's half an onion chopped. I've got a really big chopping board so it makes it easy. And then the next thing to do is, I'm using a red pepper, but you could use a courgette, or any other colour of pepper. Just cut it in half. And then another trick I learnt is to get the middles out. Use a spoon. And we're going to use all of this pepper, so both halves. Scrape all the seeds out, and there you are. So again, we're going to cut these. So I'll just check my instructions. Just chop them, and what we need to do is make them all roughly the same size. So I don't want to make them too small, and I won't get you to measure them, but roughly the same size. So that's our first set of ingredients. What we're also going to do is chop just 1 clove of garlic. So I've taken it from the bulb. I'm just going to cut the end off so I can peel it. A good way to peel it is to pop it on your chopping board, put your knife over it and just press down a bit, and that just loosens it up to make it easier to peel. She says. And then a different technique for chopping. See how I'm keeping my fingers out of the way, and then once you've got it sliced a bit, you can, I don't think Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver are going to be concerned about me taking their place. So there's the first set of ingredients all ready to go in the pan. I'm using sunflower oil today, but you can use any sort of oil. Olive oil will give it a stronger flavour, so if you like that then that's fine, but as I say, I'm using sunflower oil because it doesn't have a lot of flavour. And you just want about half a tablespoon of oil, and then we'll put that into the pan, and I'll go then and put it on the stove to get it started cooking. So that's all cooking. You won't have those difficulties at home because you'll be used to your own cooker, won't you? So I'm cooking in St Winifred's in Wibsey, which is really good. And Father Paul is going to be my taster of this meal when it's all finished.
I'm looking forward to that.
So, that's the first bit on. I'll just go and make sure give it a stir. And also, the water is boiling. So I've measured out 75 grams of brown rice, and that's going into there. I'll give that a stir. What I didn't say was that I've rinsed the rice in cold water before I put it in the pan, but I've just kind of speeded things up a little bit. So I've got the onions and the peppers cooking gently for about 5 minutes, and then I'll add the chopped garlic. In the meantime, I'm going to prepare the root vegetables. So again, a bit of a mixture. I've got carrot, sweet potato, which I just need to carry on peeling. You can use whatever root vegetables you like, really. So carrots, swede, parsnips. I'm going to use some butternut squash in a minute, and I've got another tip about that I've learnt through the Tesco Cookery School. Or you can do, I mean, I've got fresh here, obviously. Once I've peeled them, I'm just going to go and give them a quick wash. But what you could do is you can get frozen root vegetable mix. So that could be a really good standby. If you think, oh, what should I cook for tea tonight? And you've got some of this in the freezer. Dead quick. Or you can use any cans that you like. Just put these in the freezer. So they don't defrost. I'm just going to turn this down. It's already beginning to smell really good. So you need about 250 grams of root veg. And the tip that I learnt, because I always struggle peeling butternut squash, the tip that I learnt is you don't need to peel it. So I'm going to give it a go, leaving the peel on. Again, remembering about having the flat side to put your veg on, to cut it. And again, if we can try and get them all about the same size, that means that they'll all cook at the same speed. So that's your butternut squash. Your carrot and the sweet potato. So, and the beauty of this veggie chilli is it's really helping you towards eating your 5 a day. You remember we have talked about in the past about eating 5 a day and the government recommendation. Well, this will help you do that. And it's also, you might have heard of eating the rainbow. The more coloured vegetables you can eat, the better it is nutritionally. So I'm just going to put the garlic in. That's already beginning to smell delicious. I'm going to just rinse these root veg under the tap so that they're all ready to go in. And there we are. So we're on to the next process now, and this is where we add the root vegetables and the spices. So it's already beginning to smell delicious. So if you can see, there's the onions and peppers, and now in goes the sweet potato, the carrot and the root veg. So we've now got oranges and yellows and reds towards the rainbow. Give it a a good stir round. And add the spices. So, what you need is half a teaspoon of chilli powder. And you can get it in different strengths, so you can make this as hot or as mild as you like. I did consult with Father Paul earlier and he wants his chilli hot, so that's what he's getting. So half a teaspoon. I've got a little measuring spoon, but, and I'll show you this with the cumin, another way of measuring half a teaspoon. If you haven't got a measuring spoon, a good way of measuring half a teaspoon is load up your teaspoon, and then if you go lengthways down it, that will give you half a teaspoon, and the rest can go back in the jar. So that's half a teaspoon of chilli powder and half a teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin. And then we're going to just a bit of salt, and a bit of freshly ground pepper. And then we will just put that back on the stove for another 5 minutes. So the rice is cooking. Remember I said about it's a whole grain is brown rice, so it's still got more of the fibre, which is really good for you, and that is better for you. So the next step is going to be a tin of beans, not baked beans. You could use baked beans, but you'd need to rinse the tomato sauce off them. So we've got a selection of beans here. I suppose traditionally you'd use the red kidney beans, but you can use butter beans, black-eyed beans, chickpeas even, or lentils. And I've found these three beans. So 3 bean salad. I thought, oh, they look interesting. So that's what I'm going to use. So in this, they do need to be drained. You could also use dried beans. You know, you can get packets of, again, dried kidney beans, or all sorts of haricot beans, those kind of things. If you're going to use those, then you need to follow the instructions on the pack, and you need to soak them usually for about 12 hours and then cook them before you add them to your chilli. But if you buy tins, then all you need to do is just drain them. So I'm just going to go and drain these. Give that a stir on the way. and just rinse them. So that's a really nice selection of beans, and we also want half a tin of tomatoes. So I always like to use chopped tomatoes, but you can use plum tomatoes if you want. Just chopped tomatoes are kind of easier because you don't have to chop them up and they mix in well. So half a tin of those. This is smelling really good. So I'm now going to add the beans and the tomatoes. So in go the beans. And half a tin of tomatoes. So you've still got more reds. Give it a really good stir. Put the lid on. Turn the heat down. And you can leave it then for 15 minutes or so to bubble away and take in all those flavours. Thinking about your vegetables, we've just used root vegetables, but you could also at this stage add in maybe broccoli or cauliflower, those kind of things. And so what I'm going to do now is just wait until that's cooked.